Hey guys, this is Juan with another episode of Full Send, and on today's episode I got Shane out of Canada and Nick out of Wisconsin, and they're both trailer dealers. So they're going to talk about some of the issues they've been having here lately this year, some of their ups and downs. So stay tuned for the special episode.
Let's get straight to the point. This what you do and what you don't do. No bullshit, sugarcoat when it comes to repairs and maintenance. Advice you can go to. Full Send, no edits, cause just go to Full Send, and we'll get you done right. Full Send, and we'll get you going right. Full Send, keep it going day and night. And this ain't just a podcast, we get it right and keep it tight.
So tell me, if y'all don't mind, just share some about each of y'all. Shane, if you want to start. How long you've been in the business, and then what you do and all that. So.
Yes, sir. Do you want me to start, or do you want Nick to start there?
If you want to start, that's fine.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Shane Thompson. I'm the president of Action Trailers, and I've been in this business now 19 years. So started from nothing, just a couple of trailers on the lot, and we ended up just buying them off other distributors. There's no manufacturers back at the time wanted to really deal with us, just because we were newcomers in the game. So we'd buy off of another big competitor of ours a couple hours away. We'd bring them back here, then resell them, and then as we kind of grew, we obviously started dealing direct with manufacturers. And then started from there distributing trailers to other dealers as well. So we kind of would figure out our own models, a series of models that we would design and co-build with manufacturers. And then we would wholesale those to other dealers, and then mainly deal directly with the public. But we do both the wholesaling and obviously the public. And then we've kind of had a vast range of different products over the years that we carry in. Just first it was enclosed, and we got into utilities and dump trailers and custom trailers, concessions, and then we're also selling travel trailers, which we've been selling now for 5 years. So we do sell an array of different trailers here, and service them and lease them and do everything you kind of think of. And we've kind of built ourselves up to be one of the biggest trailer companies for volume-wise in Canada there for that. So we have just it ranges between 30 and 40 employees, depending on obviously the season that we have at this one location. And we sell them all across North America. So
nice. So you just got that one location there that you work out of, or?
Just one location where we sell thousands and thousands of trailers a year out of this one location. So
that's pretty awesome. Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, Nick Mercer. My wife and I are the owners. This is our 23rd year. We manufacture and we retail, so we got both sides of the road. One side is wholesale, where we manufacture, and the other side is retail. We started in the used car business. When cash for clunkers hit, it wiped out our whole inventory, and we were slowly selling trailers, and then we started building. We average between 40 to 50 employees. On the retail end, we stock about 600 to 800 trailers in our yard at all times. We mostly build aluminum in-house now. Our steel market got so big that we couldn't employ enough and have enough real estate. But we, like Shane, we sell a couple thousand trailers a year out of one store. We got 15-acre yard, 3 different shops between setup, delivery, production, and full repair.
Awesome. And you said you build aluminum trailers in-house?
Yep. We build all our own aluminum utility up to 14K, and then some steel specialty stuff for the gas and oil business.
Okay. Pretty cool. So y'all both been in it for a couple years or several years now. And we'll get to the, current situation, but before COVID hit, what was y'all's main issues before COVID hit in the industry, in the trailer industry, if you can remember back far then? A lot's happened since then to now.
It's hard to remember that far back.
Yeah. No, the same issues everyone goes through is if the manufacturers are getting products, obviously over-promising and delivering, whether it be the manufacturer's end or your sales rep's end. So that's always the issue that I'm sure, well, I know that Nick and I have always dealt with over the past decades. Quality control. So unfortunately, all those things kind of just all compiled together to make it a bigger mountain once COVID hit. So those issues always happen, but obviously having the time frames went completely out the window. Obviously, once COVID hit, as far as getting material and getting product in, unfortunately, pricing structure. It was obviously you didn't know price. You'd order a trailer, and once the trailer arrived, then you'd have the invoice obviously sent to you, and the price would be up 40, 50, 60% from the original base price you ordered. And then you'd have to convey that to the customer. And unfortunately, a lot of reputation was lost, obviously, between manufacturing side and our dealer side, especially the dealer side. With that being said, so that has been one of the biggest challenges for me is swallowing is just that reputation of losing that, even though it's been completely out of our control of having to get prices, just pushed down your throat or whatever they decided there because they would no longer honor any of the purchase orders that we had originally set in place. So.
Yeah. Nick, what about you?
So before COVID, in the 23 years when I first started this, all the cargo enclosed was pretty much Amish built out of Elkhart. And that throughout the time changed to the Hispanic, and we had a lot of quality issues before COVID. And then when COVID hit, basically they were taking anybody from the Culver's drive-through the next day building a cargo trailer. So we got a lot of hours of repairing trailers before we could even sell them to the public.
Yeah, so I know that one of the things both y'all hit was quality control. And that's big because at the end of the day, when if it fails on a customer, the customer doesn't see the manufacturer with the issue. They see the dealer. The dealer sold me a bad trailer. So I can see where that'd be a pain, and especially having to repair it and then try to get your money back, if anything, from the manufacturer just to compensate your time and money lost in it. I know both of y'all touched on the pricing. Let's see. Let's emailed y'all.
Yeah, the pricing since COVID hit, it was anywhere from 40 to 90% surcharge. I mean, it was just wild, and a lot of it has not come back down to where it should be. From the time COVID hit to now, present, I never went up more than 20%. I don't think I had any other manufacturer that was probably less than 60% for surcharge through COVID.
Oh, wow. It's a big surcharge. Let's see. When the dealers or the manufacturers are discussing with y'all the pricing, are they giving y'all the information about, there's going to be surcharges, but are they letting y'all know what that surcharge is going to be ahead of time, or is it just one of those surprises? Because I have those too. Also, when I'm buying parts and when I'm in purchasing, I'll order some parts, some springs or hanger kits or U-bolts, and depending on which vendor I go through, I'll get a slap on the hand with the surcharge of. For me, it's like $600-700 extra because of it's still old inventory from when COVID was still popular or hitting.
It wasn't really, most of the time it wasn't justified. Obviously, just you received a letter. Actually, a letter was a positive end, but most of the time, all my invoices, they sent me the trailer and the invoice. They didn't specify that there's a surcharge. They just inputted it right on the bottom line of the invoice without even acknowledging us that there was an actual surcharge in place. So that was definitely frustrating, especially if you're not on the ball. If you have a large staff like Nick and I, where some people are just entering trailers in and necessarily aren't looking to see, hey, what's the old price compared to the new price? Obviously, they just enter the trailers in as normal, and just expectations would obviously wouldn't be any different. But then, we end up catching on that some of the manufacturers would be kind of hiding, not so much, a little bit hiding the invoice, like the surcharge in the price of just a line item, and then you go to find out, you look at your profits, your P&Ls, and you're like, why did we lose a bunch of money on all these loads of trailers or dozens of trailers for that matter? And then we find out, and again, some of them would send emails to let us know, here's the justification, just the inflation cost or raw materials, obviously in that way. But a lot of them didn't even say anything about it. They just added it to the invoice too. So.
And another tough thing to add to that was the order outs, the pre-sold stuff. I mean, it made us look like a fool to the customer. We had all these orders, and when they went to build it, whatever the surcharge was that day is what they charged us. So, I mean, we had trailers that were costed us $1,000 more than what we charged the customer for. And when you're in business 20 plus years, you look like a fool after the customer waited 6 months to get their trailer built. And now it's their turn for their trailer to get built, and you got to call them and say, oh, by the way,
it's another $2,000.
Yeah. I mean, I literally ate every trailer just because I'm a handshake, bar napkin kind of guy. And
yeah,
it's crazy looking back. I didn't think it would go for that long.
So
span is it?
Is that still the matter now in present time? Is that still the case, or has it softened up where they are coming off of some of those surcharges that they're tacking on at the end of the invoices?
So they're down to what, Shane, probably anywhere from 20 to 40%, I would say, from what it was before COVID.
Some of them, but some of them also, as you know, some of our suppliers, they change the whole price book, right? So they change the base price, and then so that way they've increased the base and then lowered the surcharge. So at the end of the day, the number is not far off from the original of what they were charging, let's say, 60% or 90% surcharge on. So they just kind of manipulated the initial cost of it. So before, what would always be the case is you always have the base price, and then there'd be the surcharge tacked on a separate line item, whatever it may be over the years, because they wouldn't change the price books. But a lot of the manufacturers would then just change the price books to reflect obviously the new base cost, and then they could show a lower surcharge. So it looks consciously it looks better there for you because they're seeing that 20% surcharge compared to 60 or 80%, but they just inflated the base compared to before COVID. So,
and I mean, with the higher price, are you seeing the better quality, or is it just still the same? Is it lower quality or the same quality? I mean, because I know usually I know for the end customer, when they're paying for a higher price, they expect top quality. Like you were saying something about the wheels earlier, Nick, on one of the trailers you sold your neighbor, are you seeing better quality on the end product, or is it just kind of mixed emotions on it? Like some are great, some are bad.
The quality is better than what it was during COVID, but it's not near where it should be for what we're paying for.
Agreed.
And are the manufacturers owning up to that? I mean, are they standing behind the word with, I don't know which manufacturers I deal with, but I know some of them will do, when we were building trailers and we had an issue with one of our trailers that we sent to one of our dealers, we just have them either, they can bring them back to our location here in town and we'll repair it, or if they were, out of state or out of town, they could take it to whatever shop and we'd pay for the labor cost and the material to get it done. That's how we did it. So, I mean, I don't know what manufacturers are doing nowadays, but are they helping with that in those instances where it is a bad quality weld? It is, you have to put in 5-6 hours of labor just to repair a brand new trailer.
Each week it still changes, I find, on my end of what they submit there, but they're definitely they're owning up. There's no question that some of the manufacturers are own up for it, and I obviously explain to the reasoning why there's a lack of quality before because of the staffing and the training on that end. But trying to always improve, which is good. But at the end of the day, it comes down to is making sure that we all do something about that, and that's why we're having these conversations right now to hopefully spread out to the rest of the industry and get more people involved on board. That we need a change. We need a massive change. There's no question on that end. And we, one individual can't do it, but obviously all of us put together can hopefully reflect and come together and hopefully improve what is going on right now. So
I would say historically it's the enclosed cargo that comes out of Elkhart is what we've had the most issues with. And I always say it's sickening because one-way trip back. All they think about is the number they put out every day. It's not the number of how many quality trailers they put out every day. And it just it's so far from where it should be for quality at this point yet.
And you said that's the enclosed trailers, or?
Yeah, the cargo trailers are the worst of what I've seen throughout history.
I've seen a lot, like y'all mentioned earlier, before it used to come out of the northern area, and I've seen a lot come out of Georgia lately for the enclosed trailers.
Yeah, the Georgia market really came on strong in the last decade compared to 20 plus years ago.
And what are the customers' reactions when you're calling them and you're telling them, hey, there's an additional $2,000 or $1,000?
I absorbed it. I know Shane did different.
We absorbed it initially as much as we could. At the time this all happened, we had it was 2,300 trailers that were on order that were sold that we had deposits for just at that time. Initially when trailers, and each manufacturer would be different as far as the surcharge and approach. Some manufacturers would honor the actual purchase order that we had sent over. And then towards the end, after 6 months in, maybe I would say every single one of them would obviously just, the cost wouldn't be decided until the trailer arrives at that point. So we initially absorbed it, and then we put in disclaimers on our invoices to let customers know that, hey, listen, here's your option, is that you purchase the trailer at this deposit. The deposit is refundable based on if you don't agree on the purchase price when it arrives, because we just let them know that we have no idea of what the final purchase price is going to be, obviously due to the economic state. So we were transparent with them, which helped. But for initially, there's a few hundred trailers that we still had to, we simply couldn't absorb. Otherwise, we would be looking at, it'd be catastrophic for our company with that. So we just let them know, hey, here's your option. Here's what our cost is on the trailer. Here's what basically we just showed them what the percentage went up. So we were fully transparent, and if they wanted to proceed with it, they'd only pay the difference of just our actual only cost of the trailer. So we wouldn't be making any revenue onto it. Or if they don't want to forego the trailer, then we would obviously give the deposit back, even though that all of our deposits are always non-refundable. We've always we put that obviously refund in place just because we didn't want to feel like we held the customers hostage for us.
Yeah. And I know another thing we talked about in our emails was old inventory. Y'all are saying y'all are moving, about 1,000 plus a year, if not more. But kind of like even with me here with parts, I have to stock up in order to be able to service a customer. But when you do that, you get stuck with a higher cost inventory than it would be if I can order a spring I have a spring from one vendor that had it because he had it and it was $14, but now it's cost me $10 to get it. I still have, let's just say 400 of these springs that cost me at $14. So I have higher inventory. I can only imagine how it would be with the trailer industry, because you have to have something on the ground in order to service some of the customers for walk-ins, I would assume. Yeah,
I know I'm stuck with a whole bunch of open goosenecks. The the hot shotter market just took off when COVID hit. Everybody was going to be a hot shotter and be a truck driver. I got rolls of 40-foot goosenecks. Well, the price probably dropped 5,000 to 8,000 now, and I feel the manufacturers are going to have to try to help do something to absorb that. It's going to take months to try to work out of that stuff.
Yeah, parts and trailers. Parts is not too bad for us, I would say. Just the volume that we do, so we don't have an excess of overpriced parts. But trailers, we've been just trying to. You have to take losses. Is what we've done, unfortunately. So we've asked manufacturers to assist. Unfortunately, almost all of them are reluctant to do anything right now because no one has stepped up and started really doing that at this point. That we have to be rebates. I'm working with one of the manufacturers that is trying to help because they want, obviously right now that with the industry being down in sales, they're trying to do what they can, and that's the answer. So obviously they need to help out their dealers with overpriced stock to be able to bring in more inventory, obviously in the first place. So, but it's taken on the chin right now is what I think Nick and I have been doing, and we're going to have to do just like everybody else, obviously, unless we get some support. So.
And this is a nationwide, right? This is across. This isn't those for those listening. This isn't just for Nick and Shane here at their shops. It's something that's going on nationwide where a lot of these dealers are getting stuck with higher inventory that they've either pre-ordered or customers have canceled and now they're stuck with. And you said something about a rebate, Shane. Is that something a lot of the manufacturers are trying to swing to, or is that something you're trying to work with some of them and try to create?
I'm trying to spark something up with them right now. Obviously, no one wants to. They've all got used to making these profit margins, what they've been making the last few years right now in trailers. And I know that there's two sides to every coin there, obviously, and stories that they say there with that. Nick and I, especially Nick being a manufacturer, knows even better than myself of obviously the raw material cost of how much it's dropped. I order a ton of material right now, just like skids of tires, parts, that sort of thing. So I do get very competitive pricing on that. I've noticed a huge drop. So I know that the manufacturers are obviously making a little bit higher profit margins right now. So that's why I've approached them and said, hey, listen, what can you do to help me move this gated inventory? So I've sent over just basically our spreadsheet through our DMS software of where our aging inventory is. So anything past a certain date, I've sent to them and said, hey, what can you do to help? And unfortunately, most of them have been saying it is what it is, but a few of them have said no, they'll come back, and we're working together right now at this moment right now on trying to figure out some of the aging inventory to help get rid of, and obviously in lieu of giving us a discount, it's like a rebate system. So that's why I've kind of proposed in saying like, well, either take X amount of dollars off the trailer here, and either we can send you an invoice, you get a rebate once it sells, and then we have to reorder that same trailer in, or have an offer where you get a certain price point off your next load of trailers when you order there too. So that's another option that they are obviously wanting to take a little bit more. But for books, keeping the books clean and stuff, I'm kind of proposing more so just we'll invoice you kind of a rebate, obviously, fee of having to sell this one, old inventory to be able to push and get some new stuff back on our lot there. So that's what I've been working on, and I know that if we kind of collaborate together with everybody, and if we can kind of figure out something, we can hopefully get everyone on the kind of same playing field. I know every manufacturer is going to be different, but at the same time too, it's something that we're going to need help with. We need help, not we're going to. We need help with it right now because I have trailers sitting on my lot for over 400 days right now. So it's like,
oh wow, for
me, I would never, with the volume that we move, our turn rate, it's within 50 days at most. Ever my turn rate always is within that. So it's to have 400 days right now. It's like, and it's not just one or two. I have maybe 20, 30 units and sitting at that kind of that standpoint. So.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of days and a lot of, especially if your average is about 50-day turnaround time and you're sitting on a handful or more than a handful, sitting at 400 days. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's certainly concerning, and that's why we throw on what we can do to our own clearance prices. But you only can, discount it so much under cost or at cost at that point. So that's why I've been trying to make my own private deals, obviously in that case, like everybody, and what they do with the manufacturers to try to help out. And some of them are working, some of them haven't. But I'm starting to dwindle down off that list right now. There's no question, but there's still a good amount right now that we still need to clear up before we can bring in new stock for, especially the new models at a lower price point too. So.
I always try to flip my inventory at least minimum of 4 times a year. And I have a lot like Shane that are probably 360, 400 days plus. And it's tough. You start getting $20,000 plus units that sit that long. They start getting lot rot. And, if the price drops anymore, it's like, how are we going to work out of it? And we're just going to die with this stuff.
Yeah. Especially with some of the wood that was coming out back then in the last couple of years, the rate that it was dry rotting or just drying up and just having to redeck them just to try to make something out of it. But what would be a neat thing for the dealers besides the rebate thing? Not the dealers, but the manufacturers that they could do if they're listening. That would help them out. Like at the same time, both sides have to make money. So I mean, what would be one thing if it wasn't the rebates? If they're saying no to the rebates, I mean, just helping you out push that product out. So I mean, do they do anything about like cross? I know with some of the ATW things with big techs, they can transfer trailers from one location to another. Kind of like what they do with vehicles. So if you go to one dealership, they don't have it. They'll call in the other dealer and they'll flop inventory just to make the sale. Do y'all see any of that, or?
I think the industry's in a standoff, is my opinion. They're basically slowing down production, kind of creating a shortage. We're sitting with old inventory with no help. You drive through just take the state of Texas. You drive through Texas, every big manufacturer is pouring concrete. They're putting up more structures.
I'll agree to that. They've been pouring the hell out of some concrete.
Right. You drive through, the profits are higher than ever because take the last 3 years out and go 20 years back. I've never witnessed that in this industry ever. So we're just we're kind of in a funk. I don't know how else to explain it between the manufacturers and, the dealers. They're just not willing to budge. They got so comfortable with these profits that they're just not willing to budge and go back to the normal structure where we were prior to COVID.
Yeah, because I can see that. Like I said, I've been through Mount Pleasant here in Madisonville and Huntsville and a couple other areas where some of these bigger manufacturers are, and I will say that a lot of them are expanding, adding more bays, up to 30, 40 bays to their production line. So.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy what's going on, and you try to sit back and think about it and think it through. But at some point, one end they gotta, it's got to give.
I agree. Nick, you had some good points that I know you brought up before about buying down interest rates and stuff like that as helping. I know Juan was asking kind of in that context there of what manufacturers can also help and do rather than a rebate in that sense. So.
And I think that's huge. We still have foot traffic in the showroom, but you tell them 9 to 11%, and they're like, "Oh, maybe we don't need that right now." But I mean, the automotive, the ATV, UTV, the snowmobile industry for years, they've always came in and bought the rate down when times got like this, and I think it would be huge because that's what people are counting pennies right now. 2 years ago, they care less if it was 11%. If you could have the paperwork done and get it hooked on, and they were gone. Well, now they're, they're really thinking it through. A little different world.
So,
What I have seen,
the give and take, right? Everyone's going to make money at the end of the day, right? As we said, it's a standoff right now, but coming together with collaborating and figuring out an agreement, because right now we know that there's record high profits in the manufacturing end since pricing hasn't really changed much. Second end, obviously, is that we have overpriced inventory from previous, obviously prior to COVID, that we have a tough time selling with interest rates at all-time high. So coming up with like an agreement of like whether you offer a couple different options, like a rebate program where a manufacturer, if you sell, they sell a certain trailer on their lot, you get a rebate of reordering that trailer or a similar trailer in. So they're still making profits because there's a record high profit, but they're helping us out to be able to discount this trailer to move it, or offering an alternative option of, buying down the interest rates to be able to advertise this trailer to get it off our lots, and then in turn allows us to bring in more inventory there for it. So
I know I've seen some of these places, smaller dealerships, trailer dealers that have that rent to own, and they have that that I would say medium to low deposit with weekly payments or monthly payments. And some of I had one dealer out of where was he at? He was out of South Texas. He said that was helping him move a lot of his inventory. That he said because they weren't doing credit checks. He said then the customer would end up getting it repoed and then bring it back to him to resell it at a lower cost from the finance company.
It all comes down to being ethical. I mean, you have a lot of that in the automotive industry. Yeah. 18, 20% interest. Everybody needs a car to function. Everybody doesn't need a trailer. So
yeah,
it's if you want your showroom continuously to be like the Jerry Springer show, just to move inventory would be one thing, but it wouldn't be for me, I guess, for the way I run my business.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a great use there, using it, bringing up Mr. Springer there with. Yeah, no, there's we deal with enough chaos as it is there, one, especially with the volume between Nick and I do there. And that's the one thing that we both have always had the same understanding. It's like, you know what, you do what's right, and that's the one thing that there's people in the industry that that will take advantage. There's no question, whether it be dealers or manufacturers, and obviously, profits. Yes, it's not a dirty word, but at the same time too, there comes down to a point where are you, is it ethical? Is it going to be the point where you're just trying to gouge somebody, whereas you're not looking at tomorrow, you're just looking at today's numbers in your pocketbook there today? And that's where, again, why, both of us have been in this industry for now basically 20 years plus there in that sense. And we sell the volume that we do is just because we don't get rich off one trailer sale. That's not the way our philosophy works in business. We just do volume, and that's how we do it. And obviously we look at the part sales and accessories that come with that too. And that's kind of the whole package and the service there. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I mean, y'all been in business. Yeah. I mean, both y'all almost over 20 years. Y'all are doing something right. So kudos to that, because y'all are keeping it going. But yeah, I mean, what is, let's see. So we talked about pricing. We talked about pricing. We talked about the quality. What else y'all want to talk about? I mean, what do y'all want the dealers to hear from, or the manufacturers to hear that's either hurting or that they're doing good by the dealers?
You want to start this one, Nick, or do you want me to?
This one's all you.
Great. Well, I think I've said it a couple times already, is that collaboration, and we've all agreed upon that. Coming up with a plan Rebates is definitely going to be necessary, whether that be buying down an interest or just a physical rebate when you buy the next trailer purchase, or a rebate check for selling old inventory. You got to create some sort of stimulation. That's it's getting stagnant. The industry is getting stagnant. Nick and I know both right now with our sales numbers and just being on part of the board of the NATDA, talking with other dealers, and just in general, talking to my leasing companies and the power sports, everything's gone down. And it's not rocket science when you look at inflation, how much it's gone up, interest rates gone up, therefore. So that's, and then on top of that, the media is scaring the living shit out of everybody right now with recession and all that kind of talk. And everyone has their own opinion of what we're going through right now, but we need some sort of stimulation at the end of the day. And that's what, obviously manufacturers and dealers need to come together to create that. Is there going to be some sort of package that is generic across the board? Of course not, because there's different margins and different manufacturers and that sort of thing. But it's something that I think we all should talk about, whether we bring it up in the next, meetings like this, as far as webinars, whether, especially NACDA, when you're dealing with the manufacturer face to face. But it needs to be discussed. It needs to be brought to attention that there's something that needs to happen. Otherwise, we're just going to dig all of ourselves into a deeper hole. And the dealers need the manufacturers to build a product, but the manufacturers need the dealers to sell the product. And if we're not selling the product, they're not building. And obviously, that's why there's lots of layoffs happening and stuff like that too, that I've already started hearing off of certain manufacturing plants, and especially the RV industry, because I'm in that right now, and that is down a couple 100% from last year as far as sales go for it. So it's like we're not nearly as bad, a necessary commodity for obviously businesses to operate up certain cargoes and landscapes and stuff like that compared to recreational. But either way, it still comes into creating that stimulation and creating some sort of program and package that works for both parties. So,
Nick, you want to add on?
Yeah, I was been talking with different axle manufacturers, and like Shane said, the RV industry is really upside down. They're talking 2, 3, 4 month maybe shutdowns in some of these factories. I honestly think the next 2 to 3 quarters are going to be the roughest yet to come. If I look at my pie charts every month, it just keeps dropping. What we build for is pretty much recreational, and I got some of the biggest motorsports dealers in the state. They got stacks of trailers out in their fields that I dropped off 2 Aprils ago. Their salesmen are out looking for jobs. There's just nothing moving. So I think the tougher days to come yet are still coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no doubt. I would say that here in the parts side of the trailer industry, the first half of the year so far has been pretty good for the parts side, which just means that nobody's really buying any trailers, as y'all said. They're more repairing their old trailers or buying a broke down trailer and repairing it versus spending the thousands of dollars to buying a new trailer. Flip side of that is last year it was the total opposite. It seemed more people were buying more trailers, and that might be a long shot, but because the sales for parts were so low, the only other thing I could put my mind to was that they were buying newer trailers versus fixing their old trailers. But no, that it is definitely something that that dealers and manufacturers need to be is very transparent and just open with each other. Hopefully, some of the other dealers that y'all talk with are open with the manufacturers like y'all are, and able to discuss the issues that are at hand and try to work around them. Because I know, like you said, we both dealers and manufacturers have to work together and make sure everything rolls right.
On your end, Juan, how have you noticed any difference in the quality of the parts you sell? Is that staying consistent?
The quality of the parts has stayed consistent. I will say that I have seen more vendors out of India trying to make a presence in the scene versus China. I have seen a few. Everybody uses pretty much the same vendors out of China, and I have seen some more vendors coming out of India, and many of the manufacturers leaning towards the India just because of all the tensions that was going on. Maybe earlier this year, end of last year, between when it was between Russia and dang it, my mind went blank.
What's the difference on the tariffs on from China
Save
to
about 30%.
30%? So it's not any less than.
Well, no, you'll save about 30%.
You'll save 30%,
give or take.
Gotcha. I think a lot of the wheels and tires now switched from China to India, from what I've been seeing.
China, or they went to India and some out of Taiwan. A lot of them, I've seen some coming out of Europe, but not many, very few. But no, a lot of your industry, the thing that gets me with going with the vendors from India is, like, I got a spring last Friday, a 4-leaf spring for like a 3,500 pound axle. It looks great, but I still need to test the strength on it just to make sure it stands up to what it should be. Because I've seen some springs where we put it on a machine and get it tested, and it just snap in half the minute you have any kind of any pressure on it. So a lot of manufacturers, I would say, are looking into the India side of it to try to lower some of the cost. I am too, but no, you save about 25 to 30% on tariffs going to India. A little bit shorter lead times. It saves you about 30 days in shipping. So,
talking about springs and quality of springs, I think since COVID hit, I sold more springs in the last 3 years than I did the 20 years altogether before that. That is the one part that the quality literally went out the door.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it didn't matter who you got them from.
Everybody was. So the other one I was having issues with was U-bolts. For some reason, when they were threading them or cutting them, the threads on them, they weren't cutting them correctly, and I was having a lot of issues with U-bolts. I had to I won't say throw away. I had to send back 3 crates, so that's almost 900 to 1,000 U-bolts, because it came out the same factory, and I had, out of one crate, I had like 150 U-bolts that I had to return or credit back to the customer. One thing that did go up, and then finally started coming down, was fenders. Fenders, before COVID, fenders were fairly cheap. And then COVID hit, and I would say about 100% increase on price and the difficulty to find them. And good quality fenders too, because a lot of people were making fenders, but the quality of it was not that great. So,
and that's the one thing we're dealing with ourselves yet, is the shortage on fenders, which I don't understand, because I call the manufacturer and they're like, we can't get the ATP in to make aluminum fenders. Well, I can call and get pallets and pallets of ATP within 1 to 3 days, and it's a third of what the price was during COVID. So it's like, how can you say that you can't make the fenders because you can't get ATP? There's not a shortage like what it was during COVID. It's like they're trying to create their own shortage to keep the price up.
Yeah, that, or I know so there was one manufacturer I was dealing with, and it took almost a month and a half to get ramps. And it was just communication. I was like, and my biggest thing is communication. If I can't deliver to you, and I sell to a lot of manufacturers, and I sell to a lot of dealers. And my thing is, if I can't deliver to you by a certain date, I'm going to be honest with you. And I'd rather just tell you up front. But they promised me 2 to 3 weeks on lead time, and then it went to about a month and a half. Now I have no ramps. So I got getting questioned by the owner and the president of why we have our ramps on call for availability, and ramps were a pretty good seller for us. We were selling about 30 to 45 sets of ramps a month.
So speaking of that one, about back to like where you're talking about like not be able to deliver on certain product. So that comes down to like obviously your reputation, right? And retaining that. What have you done out of curiosity for basic on your company of what you guys have done to retain customers that have obviously been disgruntled that you can maybe help other listeners out some tactics and stuff like that?
So that's a good one because we've actually been working on this. We set a guarantee, or we're working on a guarantee. At the beginning of the year, our goal is to retain about, I want to say 18% of 18 to 25% of returning customers. And that's just in consumer, not wholesale customers. But the one thing we did was set a guarantee. So basically is order by noon, ships out the next day, or 10% back. So that is a big, to some, it's not like a big bite, but that's a big bite. We ship about 3,600 orders a month. Each order averages about $700. But what we've done and what we've implemented here, what I've implemented in operations is making sure that purchasing is on top of it, making sure that as far as inventory levels, we're holding at least 30 to 45 days across the board on all the products. So that way, if we do see a shortage or a drop in industry, like when COVID hit and nobody had any parts for resale, we would still have it here at our location. So from the purchasing side, my purchasing manager has it at 30 to 45 day inventory. My warehousing staff, he has it to where the shelves are always stocked. There's always overstock. Everything's labeled. Everything's neat. There's nothing out of place. So they can find the people who are picking the orders. They can find everything in a timely manner. And same thing with the pick pack crew. Excuse me. We give them they have a deadline and to where they have to push all their orders out. So with fulfillment, the goal is to have it out. So if the order comes in a day, by tomorrow it's out the door. And even if it gets messed up with a customer, we do a hassle-free to where if we did mess up or they order the incorrect part, if they order the incorrect part, we won't charge them return. We'll charge them return shipping to ship that part back, but we'll ship them the new part at no cost. Just pay the whatever additional cost may be for the part. So
what kind of percentage of customers did you guys have that you would have to allot that 10% discount to based on it not shipping out in time?
Say that one more time.
What kind of percentage of did you have to, like, out of you do roughly 3,600 orders in a month, right? So what would you say on a monthly percentage wise that you had to give that 10% discount off for the parts not arriving on the promised date that you guys
so right now we're about 87% on time. So okay. I'd say about 13%, and a lot of those it has to do with the carrier. So it's somewhat out of our control, but still some of the customers feel that, they need to get that. So we'll compensate in some form for the customer and either give them a discount or issue them a refund. But for the most part, we're about 85 to 87% on time.
Would a carrier give you guys, do you guys have set up with the carriers right now where they're guaranteeing a certain time frame? Otherwise, they provide free shipping, or how does that work?
Before COVID, that was an easy request. We could get, before COVID, with FedEx, if it was overnight, 2-day express shipping, if it didn't happen within that time frame, you can get your money back. Now, the only thing you can get your money back is on express shipping, which is overnight. So your standard FedEx 2-day shipping pretty much out the door. If you're trying to get any kind of money back, I mean, your rep will work with you, and then they'll do something. We do about, I'll say, anywhere about $1.5 to $2 million with FedEx in shipping a year. So, I mean, they'll work with us. The rep will move some stuff around and get us some of our money back. But no, the biggest thing I would say, if anybody with shipping and shipping parts or just anything in general that requires a carrier, is being open and upfront with your carrier, with your agent or your rep, and let them know what your expectations are, what you're expecting, the customers are expecting, what your damages are, and your on-time percentage rate, because that's the big key. We do, like I said, about 3,600 orders a month, and out of those, I would say, confidently say, about 80% of them are delivered on time, with the option that we selected. So yeah.
When you were talking about your ramp business, do you get a lot of stuff made domestic, or is it a lot of import?
No, our ramps are made in Tennessee. We were making them in-house. We had, so in May or June, we stopped. We were doing repairs, and then repairs got slow, so I couldn't justify keeping the repair side open. And then I had to let go of my 2 repair guys, which were also building my ramps, because I couldn't just justify keeping 2 people on just to build ramps. Even though we were selling them, it'd take them about a week to build them. So I moved my ramp business from in-house over to Tennessee, and they're built here in the States, in the States.
I'll have to talk to you later about that, because that's interesting. I'm always looking for another avenue. We build all ours in house, and my kid hates it, so got to figure something out.
Yeah, my guys weren't a fan of it. When I tell them it was time to build ramps, it was like pulling teeth.
Right. It's like sweeping the floor.
Yeah.
Anything else, Juan, that we need to take up on today's?
I got nothing unless y'all want to share anything. Are y'all going to be at the NATDA show here next month, or?
We are, yes.
We actually teach some of the classes.
Okay. I know Kiefer, he's going to be teaching the networking class, I think. Right? Yeah, networking class. Okay. But no, I'll be there that Monday setting up, and then we'll be there all week. So let's grab a beer, grab a bite to eat when we're up there.
Yeah, we'll definitely catch up with you.
No, for sure. That's,
well, to any of the listeners, if y'all are in the market for any trailers in Canada, give Shane a call. Or if you're up north, you're in Michigan, right, Nick? Wisconsin. So if you're in Wisconsin area, give Nick a call. We'll put all their contact information down there for their stores. But thanks, guys, for joining in, and hopefully some comes out of this episode today, and we get some balls moving forward for the relationship between the manufacturers and the dealers. So,
no, I agree. Communication, ongoing communication, like you said, and everybody knows it, and just keep on pushing forward and ask your manufacturers, and hopefully if all of us keep on pushing forward that way, that something's going to come about it. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, appreciate it, guys, and we'll see y'all in Tennessee.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.